In this video, we are going to get introduced to the autocomplete feature of the Places library. So we're going to create a simple application where the user is going to input a city, okay, using the autocomplete feature. And once they select a city, the map is going to be centered in that city. So let's create a file in our FTP, call it autocomplete.php. Okay, let's open the file using brackets, and let's copy the content from the previous one and change the title to autocomplete. Now let's delete all the code except for the code creating the map, and let's open our file. Okay, so let's create our input there right after the map. So it's going to be an input. Okay, let's give it an ID, city input, and a placeholder city. Okay, so it's an input of type text. Okay. Now, to use the autocomplete feature, we will need to create an autocomplete object. Okay. And then we'll link it to our input. So let's call this object autocomplete. So we're going to use a constructor called autocomplete with capital A. Okay, so it will take two parameters. The first parameter is the input, which refers to the HTML element. So let's create that input by selecting our input using its ID. Okay, and the second parameter is the options. So inside those options, we can define things like the types we want to show inside our autocomplete. Okay, so we've got several types we can choose from. If we have a quick look at the documentation, so the types we can choose from, we've got a few there. We've got the geocode, okay, which will return geocoding results, addresses, establishments, okay, which will return, for example, business results. Also, we've got regions and cities. So let's go for cities, since we want to show only cities. So the syntax for cities is going to be between brackets and single quotes, cities inside parentheses. Okay, just like there. Okay. Now let's save and refresh our page. Let's start typing something there. So now our autocomplete is working. Okay. Now we want to center the map on the new location once we select it. Okay. So to do that, we are going to add a listener to our autocomplete object. So to do that, we're gonna go to the object first, and then we use the add listener method. So this is gonna take a couple of parameters. So the first one is the event. So in our case, the event is called place changed. Okay. And the second parameter is the function to execute, and let's call it on place changed. Okay, so let's define this function. So for now, let's just do something simple. Let's send an alert message with the autocomplete using a method called getPlace. Okay, so let's try this. If we refresh the page and use the autocomplete, now we can see that we have got objects and objects. Okay, now rather than sending an alert message, let's print this on the console. Let's save and refresh and try again. Let's click on F12. And now you can see we've got an object there, and inside the object we've got a few elements there, and we've got one element geometry, and then inside the geometry we've got the location, and this will return the latitude and longitude, and that's what we want. Okay, so let's place this inside a variable that we're going to call place. And then to center our map in that place, we're going to use a method of the map called pan2. Okay, so we need to get the location corresponding to the place. So we're going to go to the place variable, and then we're going to go to geometry, okay, and then location. And this will return an object with the latitude and longitude. So let's save this. Let's refresh. And let's try this time. And now we can see that we are centered in New York. Let's try again. Okay, let's just change the zoom level to 7, for example. Here we go.